We are separating. We're going through the process. So he has not moved out. He still lives here. We're kind of just coexisting right now. It's weird. Today's the day that my husband moved out, and he just got a majority of his stuff out, and he's now at his mom and dad's house. That's where he's staying for the time being until he can find his own place. With the whole single momhood thing, there's been some trials and tribulations with that. There's been some ups and downs, and it's been tough. You know, I'm not gonna lie. A lot of, you know, there are most of the days I'm like, I am woman, hear me roar, I can do this, you know, everything's great, you know, I'm happy. But then there are definitely days where the loneliness sets in. We admitted that we were both still madly in love with each other, and he said that he was willing to do whatever it takes to fix this. He wants me, he doesn't want anybody else. He knows to be happy, it's going to be with me. Hey everybody, it is me, Spooky Brandie. Okay, so let's talk about it. As you know, as you saw by the little highlight reel, I guess, I don't know, kind of like a low light reel, but my husband and I had separated. There was a lot of reasons behind the separation. It was my choice. You know, I love him. I still to this day can say that. Even after everything he's put me through, I still love him, and I always will. You know, he's the father of my kids. He helped me bring those beautiful girls in the world, so I can definitely not sit here and say like I regret, you know, meeting him or anything like that. It's not like that. I've always loved my husband. I've loved him since the day I met him. I was head over heels in love with him. And I think that's a big reason why I let all of this go on for far too long. Our relationship has always been very toxic. There was never a point where it wasn't toxic, but there was a point where the good outweighed the bad, so I forgave it. The toxic behavior has always been there, but it was just, I wanted it to work so badly, and I loved him so much. Everything, all the red flags, I totally disregarded because I was just so willing to make it work. And I thought, you know what, we can get through anything. Like, the attraction was there. We had similar interest. You know, he was funny and fun to be around, and it was just like, you know, I can work with this, you know. And I could, for the most part. But as we got older and like real life started to happen, bills and, you know, debt and parenthood and home ownership, you know, all of these things, it became very abundantly clear we couldn't make this work. He is a very different personality than I am. He is like the quintessential procrastinator, which, you know, by itself is not toxic. It's not bad. Whereas I am the complete polar opposite. I am overly ambitious, and I am a go-getter. And as soon as I complete a goal, I create another goal. And, you know, I'm just constantly go, go, go. I am going to reach for the stars. I'm going to do the best I can. I'm going to give my kids the best life. And I am always reaching for that, right? I'm always working. I'm always working hard to get to that level. And he's the opposite. When it comes to bills, like, I handle all the bills. You know, when it comes to cleaning the house, like, you know, I pretty much do all the deep cleaning. When it comes to, you know, things that need to get fixed around the house, I take care of it. And it just became so one-sided. And that's why we broke up the first time. Like, that's general. There's a lot of, I am not going to cover everything, but that was a big reason for the first separation. I have always said taking back an ex is like putting on your dirty underwear after taking a shower. for some reason, I went against that. And I think it was because I wanted it to work and because he's the father of my kids. I know my kids are screaming in the back. I'm letting them have free reign, you know. We've been in lockdown for like 3 months now, so they're having fun. So I know you can hear them, and, you know, sorry, not sorry. You know, I think I referenced this in one of my other videos, and I can put all of these videos in the description so you can kind of catch up to where we are today. But, you know, he had done some things that made me go, oh my God, he realizes what went wrong, and I can see that potential that I first saw when I first met him, right? And I was going through a lot, some health issues, and, you know, there was a hurricane, and Lydia had gotten really sick, and it was just, there was a lot going on at that time. And so I was in a really weak spot, and ultimately, you know, we started to talk again, and he said that he understands what he did wrong, and he wants to fix it, and he wants to make this right, and he loves me, and he's going to do everything he can to make this right. And he, you know, was helping me pay bills, and he was taking care of stuff around the house. And it was like, oh my God, this is what I've been missing. You know, the whole ambitious, driven, like, I'm gonna take care of you, like that side of him that I'd never seen before was suddenly there. And I was so excited because I was like, oh my God, he figured it out. Let's make this work. Let's do this, you know? And it was great. It was so great for the first 3 months. It was awesome. We were happy again, and we were getting along, and he was helping me with so much stuff. And at some point, he got comfortable. And yet, even though things were great for a few months, there were some things that he hadn't addressed. And I was like, that's fine, you know, he is kind of getting back into the swing of things. So, like, I'll give him some time, you know, but I did bring it up to him multiple times. Like, I talked to him about it, and I was like, yeah, you know, like, I don't feel supported. Not financially. Financially, I'm not talking about that. I've always been the breadwinner. I've always been the one to bring home the money. I've always been the one to handle everything. That wasn't new. I didn't feel supported emotionally, or, like, he wasn't my cheerleader, you know? Like, when you're with somebody, it doesn't matter the sex or, you know, what role they have in the marriage or the relationship, they should be your biggest fan, you know? Like, I'm not talking about, like, them cheering you on when you're doing nefarious, awful things. I'm saying, you know, in the things that you're passionate about, like, whether it be you want to start dancing, or you want to start, you know, practicing art, or you want to start singing, or you want to start knitting, or, you know, you want to, like, build something, you know, whatever it is that you're like, I want to do this, you know, I feel like I could do this, this is my goal, you know, like, I feel really passionate about it. That person should be in your corner, and that person should do everything they can to help you in any way they can. And if nothing else, to support you. You know, I don't ask for a lot. And when I started YouTube, I sat down, I was like, yeah, I really want to try YouTube. Like, you know, I don't think I'll be successful, but it seems like right up my alley, you know, and I think I can do it. And I have a knack for talking to people. And he said, I'm not okay with this. He wasn't happy about it. He said he didn't sign up to be a YouTube husband. And now that was, like, you know, back when we were really bad off in our, you know, original marriage prior to our first separation. But that never got fixed. So one of the things that I said to him when we got back together was, I need your support, whether it be with my YouTube stuff, with my witchy stuff, you know, with ghost hunting, or if I decide to take up roller derby, like any of the random things that I might become interested in, I need you to be in my corner, because I'm in your corner for the stuff you're into. And I am. I always have been. Anytime he's ever had any kind of goal or passion or anything, I've been in his corner. and I've done everything I can to support it and nourish it. And I've never gotten that in return, no matter what it was that I was interested in. So I told him right at the beginning, like, that's one of the big things that I need from you in order for this to work. And he said, yeah, absolutely, I get you, and I will do everything in my power to fix that. And here we are 3 months in, and it still isn't happening. And I'm like, other YouTube husbands are like involved in the videos, and they're like retweeting the videos, and they're sharing it on their social media, and they're talking about it with their friends, and they're getting their friends to watch, and that's not happening, And he was like, well, I just don't get it. Prime example of the lack of support. When I hit 3,000 subscribers on YouTube, he didn't care. He didn't notice. He didn't care. I got excited, brought it to his attention. He was like, oh, okay, cool. That was it. That was it. It was a huge milestone. Huge milestone. I've been trying to reach that number for 4 years. And he was like, yeah, okay. He doesn't even remember when that happened. I asked him. I was like, hey, do you remember when I hit 3,000 subscribers? He's like, oh, you have 3,000 subscribers? On top of that, there's been so many issues, but that was one of the big glaring ones, was like, you really don't see like how one-sided this is. Like, and he still doesn't, to this day, like he still doesn't get it. And it's not just about YouTube, like also with my witch stuff, the witchcraft stuff. As you guys know, I like did this huge overhaul in the sunroom. I did that by myself. The whole project, I did by myself. Like moving all of his stuff out of that room, I had to do that by myself. Like, he had no interest in helping me whatsoever. And it was his stuff that I was moving out. He didn't help or offer to help at all. And, that by itself, I can forgive. He's tired from work or something, some kind of excuse. I don't care, right? But after I got done, there's a part in my sunroom, moonroom reveal video. There's a part where I let my kids come in and see the final product, right? And that's near the end of the video. I had to cut out quite a bit of that. And the reason is because I also invited my husband to come in and see what I had done to this room. I was so proud of it. I was so excited. And he walked in and just kind of looked around. This look on his face said nothing. I had to cut it out. I was too embarrassed because that's my husband. And he acted like it was the most dumb, like he was so annoyed that he was even being called into the room. Like it just, what a waste of time, right? And I felt so defeated in that moment. I realized looking at some of my videos recently, it really comes through like how defeated I feel. We've had several fights since he's moved back in. And after that 3-month period where he was trying really, really hard and like being nice and everything, after that it was all downhill. And he said some really hurtful, terrible things to me. And more of the gaslighting and more of the, invalidating my feelings and that kind of thing. That's all been very prevalent. And you can see in my videos, like my spirit's been drained, and you can just tell that I'm putting on this like brave face, but that joy is gone. So we've had multiple discussions, multiple fights where he tried all those same techniques that he tried in the first go round, I guess. I call it the first marriage. I know it's the same marriage because we never actually got divorced, but for me it was like, it was supposed to be a fresh start. So that first go around, he was very manipulative, and there was a lot of techniques that he used to kind of break me down. And I realized that he was doing it to me again this time. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. You promised me that you were going to do better, and you were going to care about me, and you were going to support me emotionally, and you were going to treat me better, and you're not. You haven't fulfilled any of your promises. You haven't changed any of the behaviors that caused us to separate to begin with. And there's a lot I'm not telling you guys because, you know, it's neither here nor there. I'm not here to bash him. But it's like, if I was the right woman for him, I would inspire him to do better, to make goals and try to build a future. He would be my cheerleader, you know. He would think everything I'm doing is so cool and like, you know, oh my God, honey, that's awesome. So yes, there was a ton of things that went wrong, and because I wanted it to work so badly, I overlooked so much. And I know I deserve better. I would much rather be single than be treated this way. And he doesn't understand that. When I know he's coming home, I get this tightness in my chest and I get this clenching feeling around my heart. That's not living. You shouldn't feel like that in your own home. Through all of these fights and everything, he has not shed one tear. After I said that, hey, we need to quit and, you know, I can't do this anymore, I'm hurt, and not a single tear. I've cried a lot. Nothing from him. So, again, this was not to like bash him. I needed to put this in here for my own sanity, because there are definitely times where he makes me feel like I'm crazy and that like all of this is in my head and that we should make this work, that he's not doing anything wrong and I should just accept it because he doesn't beat me. I gave him the deadline of moving out June 1st. We're going to have shared custody of the kids, but they're going to live with me. He doesn't have a place to go, so he's going to be living with his parents again. They don't really have a kid-friendly house, so you know, he's gonna try to find his own place, and then once he finds his own place, then the kids will be able to spend more time with him at his place. But for the time being, he's gonna stay with his parents, and anytime he wants to come see the kids, he comes here to see the kids. Again, that starts on June 1st. I am not going to do anything to stand in his way as far as taking time with the kids. Like, I'm not going to try to shut him out of their lives or anything like that. I want him actively in the kids' life. You know, that's their dad, and I'm not going to do anything to, you know, talk badly about him. You know, to them, he is going to be the biggest superhero. You know, obviously once they get older, I'll be able to explain in more detail why this had to happen. As of right now, we're going to handle it very kid high level. But yeah, no matter what he does or says, I'm not gonna throw him under the bus. I'm not gonna try to paint this like awful villain picture. Some of the things that I said today definitely don't paint him in a positive light, but ultimately I don't think he is a bad person. I just don't think he cares about me. I think if he were to find the right person, they could inspire him to be a good person and a better person, but I don't think I'm that girl. I have such a strong personality and I have so many goals and I am so ambitious that I think I kind of like steamroll him. If that, like, I feel like without even trying, I kind of make him feel like he's unable to take the lead. And I think it really just boils down to we're not good for each other. I don't think he's a bad person. I really don't. I care about him deeply and I will always love him. He is the father of my kids. But we are not right for each other. And I've accepted that. And I think in time he will as well. But we're going to do our best to be the best co-parents in the world, and I'm going to move on with my life, and I am going to reach for the stars and try to live my best life. If I find somebody down the line that makes me feel loved and appreciated, cool. If I never, ever, ever find another person to share my life with, I'm also cool with that. So I'm not like trying to go out there and date. I'm not interested in that right now. I'm really gonna focus on my career and my kids, and that's it. Romance is not really in the picture for me right now, and I feel like I'm just not in a place where I could love somebody at this point. My heart's way too broken. Maybe somebody can pick the pieces up and mend them later on, but I'm not holding out hope. And I'm fine with that. Like, I'm not one of those people that feels like I need to have somebody in my life to be validated. I don't need to have a man in my life or a woman in my life to make me feel important or loved. I don't need that. Like, I don't need another human in my life. I am perfectly happy being 100% single by myself. I'm not rushing out there trying to find anybody. I'm not like anti-love. It's just right now it's definitely not in the cards for me. Anyway, so that's where I'm at. I'm hopeful for my future. I'm excited for my future. I'm looking forward to when he moves out. It's going to be a huge weight lifted off of my shoulders. So I'm actually in a really good place. I feel kind of numb toward him right now. So, I mean, it's honestly the best case scenario I could possibly imagine in the current state of things. So, you know, I don't want anybody to be like, oh my God, poor Brandie. Like, it sucks that we had to do this again, but I think we had to. I really do think we had to try it again to prove to myself that my intuition was right, and also to prove to him that, you know what, I gave it a second chance and he still blew it. So, like, you can't say I didn't give you a fair shot. So I think it needed to happen this way. And I learned a lot of things the first go around, that a lot of mistakes that I will not be making again. And so I think that ultimately, yes, it sucks that we're going down this path again, but I think this was the way it was meant to be. Thank you for listening to me rant. I know this was probably jumbled. I don't even really know what I'm going to include in this video. I know it was a little bit of a mess and everything, but thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a subscriber if you are one. If you're not one, thank you for watching regardless, and subscribe if you want to see how this train wreck goes. I will put all the videos that led up to this point in the description box below, so enjoy those. Yeah. You guys are amazing. You are gorgeous. And if anyone tells you anything different, they can suck it.